Let's look at injuries around the NBA, all 30 teams, maybe 30 minutes, and one Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and we all know what that chair's for in hotel rooms, don't we? Reading. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Twitter as always, at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more right now. New customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free. We're available on all platforms. I know you're all legends. You're all double bangers. You're all here for that, and that's great. You're an extra legend if your league is over and you are still here watching the show. So if that is you, make it known down below. Be a part of the extra special Double Bang squad. Love you guys being here. Again, all of the industry pick up. Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowls finished yesterday, so I've just got my Roto League that's still going now. Don't know that I'm going to catch Mitch Casey, but I'm a pretty good chance of getting second in that one, so we'll see how that ends up playing out. But we're here to talk injuries, and I thought at this point in the season, I do things a little bit differently than what we've been doing. I could list injury reports for so many teams, and they're all nonsense. So what I want to do for some of the teams is talk about the guys that are at risk of sitting, not playing again, or playing like 20% of the games, and then who the beneficiaries would be. And then for the teams that are actually being real, we'll look at the actual injuries there. But this is why we don't like to play these last 3 weeks. Yeah, you might have thought that it was somewhat bad last week, and it started to get a bit iffy on the weekend. It wasn't ideal. It's hard, right? We will assess this all after the season, look at how guys were in and out and who was missing at certain periods of the time. But I'm telling you, it is going to get disgusting. It is going to be really bad. And you are going to be ruining that your league still goes until this part of the season. Well, I think you are anyway. So let's start off. Washington Wizards. This is how I'm going to present it, I think. Well, not I think, I know, because I've already done the graphics, Josh. Come on. Kuzma, Poole, Tyus Jones, and Denny Avdia, I think are risks of not playing. We already haven't seen Tyus Jones for about a week with a back issue. In fact, the last time he played was on the 14th of March, Tyus Jones. That's pretty red flaggy. We are 12 days since then. Kuzma has missed 2 games since then, and then another one scheduled to miss today. Jordan Poole did appear on the injury report today, but he is playing. Denny Avdia missed 3 games in the middle there. One of them, he did legitimately get hurt, but I do think these guys are all at risk of not playing. You're going to get a bunch of beneficiaries. Corey Kispert's one of them. I think if Poole and Jones are both out, you're going to have Jared Butler starting games, and he will be usable. We saw already the flashes from Justin Champagnie with Kuzma and Avdia out. They've pushed him back out of the rotation, but he can step up. And then while Marvin Bagley and Rashawn Holmes have had their injury issues, I think that they both can be beneficiaries here. Maybe they even go a little bit of Bagley and Holmes together. But just the extra shots that will come from having no Poole or no Kuzma in the lineup, that will help both of those guys. I guess we could look to Tristan Vukcevic, but I'm not sure how much he's going to play, honestly. The other one to look at there would be the sandwich, Patrick Baldwin Jr. I didn't want to put every single play down, but I do like Baldwin quite a bit. I think this team might be a real goldmine for fantasy streaming towards the end of the season. There are a few guys there, Butler, Kispert, Champagnie, Bagley, Holmes, and Baldwin, who all could find their way onto 12-team leagues depending on who sits and who doesn't. The Utah Jazz are going to be another fake injury team. Markkanen, Clarkson, Collins, and Dunn, I think, are at significant risk of missing time. We actually do have, amazingly, both Larry Markkanen and Jordan Clarkson returning for action on Monday. My theory for the last couple of weeks has been the following. It's that we will see a lot of ins and outs, and we will see these guys push back in after sitting these bunch of games like Markkanen did, set 6 in a row, then he played one, then sat one, then played one, then sat one, and now he's playing again on Monday, and then they have the Spurs coming up on Wednesday. So I'm pretty sure that these guys will return, and then they'll be like, sorry, aggravated it, and we're out again. I don't know when this will happen. We've already seen Collins and Dunn rest some back-to-backs too. So I just think overall, these are the risky players you have. You get what you can out of them. Dunn less so, because obviously he's suspended at the moment. But they're the guys that I'm looking at. So Taylor Hendricks, and Bryce Sensabaugh, we already know Keontae George is boosted. We know this. But Hendricks and Sensabaugh should be able to put up some numbers at some point. Omi Yurtseven, if Collins is out, he'll get the backup minutes behind Walker Kessler. And then there's Kyra Lewis as well, who, if Dunn and Clarkson are out, Sexton, I guess, is somewhat of a risk, but Lewis is just one to keep an eye on because I think he does have an okay fantasy game if he ever gets to play. The Raptors are also in a situation where there's a million risks with this team. I don't think RJ Barrett returns. Emmanuel Quickley is also dealing with personal reasons at the moment. Apparently, a member of his family may have passed away also. So he could be out for weeks here too. I don't think it's prudent to be holding Barrett or Quickley. Kelly Olynyk, obviously, they've signed him to the extension. He's providing good stuff for them. But at some point, I'm not sure that he holds. He's a must-roster guy, Olynyk. I've had multiple people in the last, 4 days. Hey, guys, hey, man, what do we do with Olynyk? Literally nothing? What are you talking about? I don't understand. What are we talking about? Are you disappointed with what Kelly Olynyk's bringing you? I honestly don't get it. What do you do with him? Absolutely nothing. Until, or if, they say he's done and he's injured. I don't get it. The other guys I think are at risk are Bruce Brown, who's already had some knee management issues, and Gaz Trent, who's been dealing with some back problems too. Trent has missed 3 of the last 7 games. And I don't think that he's going to be a full done for the year, same with Brown, but it's going to be a lot of in and out. And there's a lot of guys that we can really get on top of here, like Dick, Porter, if he actually returns from his personal issues. Abaji, as much as I don't like him, there is an opportunity here. Wara and Freeman Liberty. They did have a guy by the name of Jamias Ramsey who was starting and playing minutes, and then his 2 ways is done, and he's gone. So Kobe Simmons is back. Kobe Simmons, you might remember, had a couple of games for the Hornets last year or the year before. Just someone to watch. Kobe Simmons is a point guard. All right, and Emmanuel Quickley is not playing. So just watch. I didn't put Simmons' name on this list, but Freeman, Liberty, and Simmons, with the likelihood that Quickley might be out for a while here, and then Brown is handling the ball too, not sure how long they play. There are going to be some names that pop up here in Toronto as being useful. The other one would be Mamadou Gueye. If Porter doesn't return and Olynyk does shut down at some point, the Mamadou Gueye might be that guy we can have a look at. The next team we take a look at is another team with risks. It's the San Antonio Spurs, and I fear it may have started. Victor Wembanyama is out today with an ankle issue. 3 weeks to go. These are the terrible portions of the season. 10, 11, 12 games to go for each team. This is where we start to get stuff going on. So Wembanyama's out against Phoenix. It's not to back-to-back. They play Wednesday against the Jazz. 0 chance he plays that one. Sorry, it's not happening. Then it's Knicks, Warriors, Nuggets, Pelicans. So some good teams after that. That's going to be a risk. I think Trey Jones is at risk of sitting some games. I think Devin Vassell is at risk of sitting some games. And I think the horse, Keldon Johnson, is at risk as well. Both Vassell and Johnson had some injuries last season too. They've been relatively healthy this year, but I can see something cropping up. And there's going to be a bunch of beneficiaries. I think Zach Collins is going to be a great guy to grab at the moment, but I also think that he is at risk. He's a beneficiary, but also a risk. And I think you'll get Domi Barlow, the Trojan, jumping in there at some point and being a really useful player. There's Julian Champagny, who's been starting all season. Hasn't done anything, but look back to last season when guys were out and he did start and played 30-plus minutes. He was useful. The other one to watch is Blake Wesley. If Trey Jones gets done, Wesley should start. I think he's better than Malaka Branham, and he can add some assists, and the shooting issues can be there for him, obviously. And then Mamakilishvili. If Keldon is out, I don't think they'll go too much Chetty Osman, or even Sohan's somewhat risky. I think Sohan might play through, but he's somewhat risky. But there are a bunch of guys here. Collins, Barlow, Champagny, Wesley, and Mamakilishvili, who are at least on my radar there. The Kings don't have any risky guys. To me, we know that Kevin Huerter is done. He's out for the year. He's done. Trey Lyles back around the start of April, and Sasha Vezenkov should be returning any day now. But we're not looking at these guys for fantasy. Keon Ellis is the beneficiary there. Obviously, it's going to be up and down, but we saw the up and how good it was. Next game. Next team. Portland. The nonsense. It's here. Anfernee Simons, they did list him questionable, and now they've ruled him out for Monday. Again, my information is that I don't expect that he plays as we move forward, but it hasn't been ruled out. We're talking, 75-25 chance, but we'll see. Again, I think there's going to be a lot of confusing injury reporting all the way through here to try and appease the league and appease the loud mouths who talk about injuries and rests and stuff like that. So I do think we're going to have really confusing and, in the end, detrimental injury reporting. So as for Simons, I don't know. Jeremy Grant, the Ides of March have got him again. Just the luck of this bloke, Jeremy Grant, to always be injured every March. It's unbelievable. I don't know how someone could have such bad luck. honestly. Like, wow, you just feel sorry for him. DeAndre Ayton, I think, is going to miss time. I don't think Brogdon's returning. Shaedon Sharpe, I put him as a risk. Sharpe is in the G League. He is starting to ramp back up. He's not going to play this entire road trip. And there is a chance that they try to get him back and he's just like, no, we're not going to play. Like, we're not going to do that for the last 4 games of the year for Sharpe. And even if he does, I think he'd be relatively limited. So I put him there as a risk, more of a risk if you think, oh, he's coming back, let's add him. That, I think, would be a bad move because he's not going to play through this 7-game road trip. And that's going to be a useless ad. I think Thible's a pretty big risk as well. Scoot Henderson's going to get a lot of opportunities. Yes, he's going to hurt your field goals, but he's going to do a lot of other stuff. Delano Banton, whether he starts or not, I'm not really sure. And he's got a lot of iffiness with efficiency too, but he can pile up counting stats. Chris Murray, again, it's just dependent on who's in or who's out. Jabari Walker, Dwop Reith, Tamani Kamara. These are the 6 guys, I think, much like we talked about, there was 6 options in Washington. These 6 guys, Scoot, Banton, Murray, Walker, Reith, Kamara, I think will have 12-team value for periods of time, and then maybe you get into someone like a Ibu Baji or Moses Brown or a Justin Manea, depending on, like, sometimes it might happen. They did this last year. What if Scoot gets too good? He won't. What if Scoot gets too good and then they have to sit him down again? And then Ashton Hagans gets a chance to step in. That is all very possible with the way this team runs things. Today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Yes, BetterHelp. Sometimes you need that opportunity to get things off your chest. Big or small, certain things can really get to you. And it's important to let that out, especially to someone who's unbiased in your life. So you might have been tracking for a fantasy championship, and then a fake injury set you back. And you go, what am I supposed to do? Well, sometimes stuff happens. But getting it out helps to relieve some of that pressure, some of that stress, and helps you also deal with some of the bigger things in your life as well. We have things that are more important than what our fantasy team is doing. Not many things bigger, but we do have some things that are bigger than that in our life, and therapy can be different for everyone. So when you have those bigger problems that you need to get off your chest, well, therapy can be there for that as well. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible and suited to your schedule. Visit betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA to get 10% off your first month. That is betterhelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. All right, where are we at now after going through a bunch of teams with risks? We go to a team that I don't really think there's much to worry about with risks. The only guy on the injury report for Phoenix is Damian Lee with that knee injury. Maybe he's back in April. I don't really think he is. I guess there is, I was going to say there's spot rest risks, but I don't think there is. This team's not good enough to be just randomly sitting guys. They need to get themselves locked into a seeding position. Philadelphia 76ers. I keep getting asked this question. I can't believe people have actually waited this long. Like, what do I do with Joel Embiid? Like, you dropped him weeks ago. I don't understand how people are still holding on to him. I think Embiid, maybe he is back for the final week of the season. Maybe. But there's no guarantee of that at all. So I would not be holding Joel Embiid. DeAnthony Melton, we don't really have any updates. I would guess he's out all this week, maybe next week. Not holding him either. And we just know what's happening. Lowry starts. Oubre gets the boost, although he's popped up on the injury report with a shoulder issue for today. And I'm expecting that Bob Covington is out for the season. But we know this. We know Embiid's out. We know Melton's out. It's been the same all the way through for the last 4 weeks or whatever it's been for Philadelphia. Nothing has really changed there. For Orlando, the 2 guys left, or 2 guys from last game, Gary Harris with a foot issue, Caleb Houston with an ankle issue. With both of those, or if both of those players are out, you get the opportunity for more Cole Anthony. These don't appear to be serious, although with Gary Harris, who knows? Anything can be serious at any point. Cole Anthony would be an interesting stream guy. Of course, they've got a bad schedule this week until he hits Saturday. Oklahoma City, they have been absolutely kissed on the dick all season with injuries, and nothing has changed so far. Lou Dort did leave the last game with a facial contusion, so I would say that he's questionable. Doesn't matter. Even if he's out, they'd put Cason Wallace into that spot. And again, that has been, looking at the Thunder injury report, has been the most useless thing that you would have done all season. For the New York Knickerbockers, still the same 3 guys. Julius Randle with his shoulder. I don't think he's back until at least April. Maybe you get 2 to 3 regular season games. Again, I still get these questions too. Hey, man, do I drop Julius Randle? Like, yeah, you probably should have done that weeks ago as well. OG Anunoby, not sure. He's definitely out Monday. They're not really giving us any information. It doesn't seem great. Maybe he's back for the next game on Wednesday. But I think, especially in a points league, you could move on. And then Mitch Robinson, still doing some work in practice, but that doesn't mean that you're back necessarily. I don't think Mitch is back this week. And even if he is, it'll be in a low-minute role, which all it does is really take away some Jericho Sims and Precious Achiuwa minutes. And I don't think that I'd be adding Mitch Robinson because there's going to be a pretty low-volume role, I would guess, after ankle surgery. For the Pelicans, 2 injuries here, both knee. Brandon Ingram with his knee, I think maybe he comes back for the last 2 or 3 regular season games, if that, while Dyson Daniels could be back for the final week of the season, but he also may not return. But we know what's happening here. It's more for Trey Murphy, it's way more for CJ McCollum, and it's a boost for Alvarado, and it's a boost for Najee Marshall. We've seen this all the way through. Well, not all the way through because it's only been short term, but we know that. We already know that Karl Anthony Towns is out for the regular season. The only other injury there in Minnesota is Jalen Clark. I don't think he's going to play. Of course, every game they're going to follow the Lakers pattern and put Anthony Edwards and Rudy Gobert on the injury report. That's just what they'll do. We know Naz Reid is benefiting. We know Kyle Anderson is benefiting. We know there's a small way that Nickeil Alexander-Walker is benefiting. And if Gobert and Edwards do sit any games at any point, well, we do really then lean into a lot of more of Nickeil Alexander-Walker and obviously more Naz Reid in that scenario as well. The Milwaukee Bucks, the only guy currently there is AJ Green with an illness. That doesn't matter a huge amount. Of course, at any point, you could have Chris Middleton and Giannis sitting games, so that is a small risk of that, but I don't think it's gigantic problems. The Miami Heat have a lot of injury issues at the moment. We've got Tyler Hero, who's out, I believe, until around the 2nd of April. You should not be rostering Tyler Hero. Jaime Jaquez missed the last game with an ankle problem. We shouldn't be rostering him either. Duncan Robinson's missed over a week now with a back injury. Still no real update on a timeline, but I would not be holding him. I've got him as questionable. I don't think he returns next game, honestly. And then Kevin Love, we haven't had an update on him. He's missed about 2 weeks with a heel problem. With him out, Tom Bryant's getting the backup center minutes, so for deeper leagues, that is important. But we don't need to worry about that for most formats. This is one where I don't know what to tell you. It's Memphis, right? What am I going to tell you for the old question marks? We haven't dropped this one for a while. Because, yeah, some guys are there, some guys are back, but I don't know. Desmond Bane missed the last game with a back issue that wasn't the injury that he had before, and it just so happened to occur against a bad team. Now, they play good teams, Denver, the Lakers, the Magic, and then they have the Pistons, and then the Bucks and the Pistons, then the Sixers and the Spurs. It's going to be messy. It's going to be ugly, and these guys are going to sit. So Bane, Jaren, I don't know whether Marcus Smart comes back. Vince Williams, even John Conchar gets the random doubtful labels. Oh, you got a sore thumb, you got a sore heel. Luke Kennard's out for personal reasons. He had a kid, but he's been out for 8 days. They're just saying, just take your time, mate. Enjoy your kid. That's what they're saying. This is going to happen. Zion Williams, Derrick Rose, they're not coming back. Lamar Stevens has been out with a groin strain for 2 weeks. Jake LaRavia is now ill, apparently. Yuta Watanabe has missed 3 weeks for personal reasons. I don't know what's going on there, and I hope everything's all right. I don't know. Who are the beneficiaries? G.G. Jackson is, yes. LaRavia is. Maybe Scottie Pippen is. He probably is. Santi Aldama definitely is, but does he become too good and they want to get other guys in there? Maybe. And then Brandon Clark is going to come back, maybe at some point this week, but I don't know that he's going to do enough for most of our leagues. He's going to be pretty limited coming back from Achilles issue. He's going to be limited to games played, and they're just going to sit guys. But that's just another name to add into the mix of randomness. I'd be very interested to see whether Bane plays here against Denver. Very interested. Jaren has been playing. He's actually played 4 games in a row, Jaren Jackson, after missing 2 in a row prior to that. And he played against the Spurs. Very interesting to see what they do with him here, but he will sit down soon. I still do think that they're trying to get him to 65 so he can get to the all-defensive team, but we'll find out, won't we? The Lakers, D'Angelo Russell missed the last game, late scratch illness. Spencer Dinwiddie was great for the first time all season. I don't think we need to worry too much about that. And then Jared Vanderbilt, Gabe Vincent, Christian Wood, not convinced we see them in the regular season. Wood, I'm sure we're not seeing in the regular season. Vincent and Vanderbilt, very borderline to me. When the Vanderbilt injury happened, the fear was he was out for the season. And then PR just pushed out, oh, maybe he's able to return. Maybe it's not so bad. But we hear nothing because it was an end-of-season injury. I don't know. It just seemed pretty clear that when you have a pretty serious-looking mid-foot sprain, that you're done. But obfuscation is the way that these teams run. What's going on with Gabe Vincent? The man's played 5 games. Okay, any updates? Nah, nothing. I think he's played 5. Maybe I'm lying. Maybe he hasn't played 5. He's played 5. For the Clippers, Russell Westbrook looks like he could return today. And like I've said, no. In a points league, I could see it. But he's still only going to play 21, 22 minutes a night. In a category league, absolutely not. No chance. No. And PJ Tucker was getting some small ball center minutes, 21, 22 a night, which was impacting Zubats. He's missed the last few with a calf. We're not adding him, obviously, but he does have an impact on the valuation of other players. So at the moment, we've got him listed as questionable. Today's episode, is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That is $150 if your bet wins. Bet on all of your favorite NBA teams and players with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and more. Go and check out future bets, NBA champions, MVP, all the awards betting is up there as well. They'll have so many playoff bets, obviously the individual single game matchups, lines, spreads, totals. It's all available over at FanDuel, as well as the tournament odds as well. So go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. FanDuel is an official sportsbook partner of the NBA, and don't forget to gamble responsibly. All right, let's go through the rest of these teams after we just knocked off the Clippers. For the Pacers, Aaron Nesmith did just pop up on the injury report with a questionable tag. Okay. He had some foul trouble last game and was pretty limited in terms of playing time. If he is out, and there's no Mathurin, obviously, I don't really know what they're going to do. A few extra minutes there for Doug McDermott. More solidarity. That's the wrong word. More stableness. More stability. That's the right word. For Andy Nembhard. A little bit more for maybe a TJ McConnell, but they're going to be playing pretty small with a lot of guards having to push up to play the three. Because the other small forwards on this team is Kendall Brown, who's not it. Jarris Walker, who's not a three, but maybe he has to play the three. And maybe it's a little bit more Ben Shepherd at the three, but he's not really a three either. So yeah, they could be in a little bit of short-term trouble. It doesn't appear like it's a long-term injury, though. For the Rockets, Jabari Smith is suspended. He's going to miss the game on Monday. Then he'll be back after that. And Cam Whitmore's probably out until April. We've seen what the Rockets team does. For the one game that Smith is out, you'll see a lot of Landau and a lot of Green. But I wouldn't be rushing to add them for that one game. You want to maximize what you do with your ads. For the Golden State Warriors, there is nobody injured. Unbelievable. There's no one on the injury report. Good for them. The Detroit Pistons, now we get into the risky stuff. We are on the verge of the end of Duren and Cunningham, I fear. Duren has now missed 3 consecutive games because he's been ruled out for Monday's game against the Knicks. Cade sat both the Sunday and Monday game on the back-to-back, which is not great. So I don't know whether it's over for those guys. I also fear that it might be over for Simone Fontecchio with his toe issue, and I think it's over for Quentin Grimes with his knee issue. I don't think that Grimes is going to play again this season, but I don't know. So I think all of those guys are at significant risk. Now, I don't know whether you drop Cade or you drop Duren. I think you could drop Fontecchio, even though his value would be there if he was able to be healthy, but I just don't think he's going to play. So what you do have to do, though, is you have to grab James Wiseman. The other one you'd look at there is Chimezie Metu, who is only on a 10-day, but they can easily convert that to a full-time contract. Marcus Sasser was terrible last game, but I think they do prioritize him over Malachi Flynn. Flynn's someone to watch for deeper leagues if Cunningham remains out. And then there's Tosan Evbonwan, who did start the last game, or sorry, 2 games ago, but then they moved him to the bench. They started Troy Brown and Chimezie Metu instead. Metu's by far the most fantasy-friendly of those players. We just have to wait to see whether his contract actually sticks and whether he's going to be there on that 10-day or not, or whether he's done. But they are obviously they've been a mess literally all season, but they are shaping up to be more of a mess. The Nuggets have decided that all of their starters have come down with an injury designation today. Just unbelievably bad luck. Jokic and Murray both sat on Saturday against Portland. Now they've got the Grizzlies on Monday, and Murray, Porter, Jokic, and Gordon are all questionable. So not KCP. The others are all questionable. Cool. They're winning basically every game. They lost by 2 against the Mavericks on Kyrie's ridiculous game winner, and they just win every game at the moment. So, yes, against these bad teams, they can afford to sit some players. Obviously, Zeke Nnaji is out, so I think he's dealing with a legit injury with his groin problem. If he is out, and if Jokic is out, then you are streaming DeAndre Jordan, but you could be getting something out of Reggie Jackson. You might be getting something out of Christian Brown, although I'm not that interested in it. But what I would be interested in is if they start Peyton Watson. That is where the value comes in. That's probably just a one-game thing because I don't think that these players are out as we move forward, but it could be at least a one-game thing. For the Dallas Mavericks, you got Joshie Green, who's dealing with that ankle problem. We're looking probably a week or so to go for him. And then Maxi Kleber is on the injury report with a knee issue. He's questionable. He's going to probably miss a game or 2 here down the stretch because he's had these persistent knee problems. For the Cavs, I am listing Donovan Mitchell's injury as a knee, even though he had a procedure on his nose because his knee is still rooted. And even when the nose heals, I'm not convinced that Mitchell is returning anytime soon from that knee problem that he told us was a problem. And then they lied about it and said that it's only his nose that's the problem. So I think that Mitchell is probably out I'm looking around the 4th or 3rd of April, which is the second game of a back-to-back. Wouldn't be shocked if it lasts longer because then they go Wednesday and then a Saturday, Sunday back-to-back after that. Max Strus, no information whatsoever. This bloke has missed like about 3 weeks with this knee strain. No information on it. So I'm going to suggest he misses at least the next 2 games, next 3 games maybe. And the same with Dean Wade, who came back from personal reasons and then hasn't played since. Didn't play a game. Came back, we're good. Personal reasons off the injury report, and then the knee has swollen up or whatever's happened. He's missed 5 consecutive games due to that. I think he's going to miss probably most of this week. Yes, Evan Mobley returns, so that does limit someone like a George Niang, but with Strus and Mitchell out, it's more minutes for Okoro to disappoint you, but also more opportunities for Karis LeVert. Luckily, he chucked up his stinker yesterday, so you might be able to get some good ones out of him. Although, you never know, because he can always chuck up those stinkers for the Bulls. Alex Caruso has been downgraded to questionable, which is not a surprise. He hurt his ankle the game before. I went, okay, doesn't look great. And then they listed him probable. And I'm like, okay, that's surprising, but no, they've downgraded to questionable. A downgrade on the day of the game is never a good sign, so let's watch that for Caruso. If he is out, do they play recently signed Javonte Green? Do they play DMP legend Javon Carter? Do we get more minutes from Dalen Terry, who's been getting like 15, 16 minutes a night? Maybe. Terry's one to watch because he's like a Troy Brown, Kyle Anderson type, a low scorer who can get rebounds and assists with steals. So just watch that one just in case. They do have Kobe White listed probable, while Julian Phillips is out for about another week with his foot issue. For the Hornets, well, there's obviously risks here. I don't know what to tell you about LaMelo Ball. Like, he's done. Like, he's not coming back. There's some reports that they're trying to do a lot of strengthening work around his ankle to reduce this pain that he's had all season. And hopefully he's able to get this stuff fixed up because it's really frustrating. I just wish they would tell us. They still have not ruled out Mark Williams for the season. They still haven't. The doubtful legend was getting tags in November of doubtful. Hasn't played since. Idiot franchise. I don't think that Cody Martin or Seth Curry are returning either. And I do think there is going to be a risk at some point for Brandon Miller and Miles Bridges. It won't be this week. Maybe looking at the final week of the season. But I think in the end, they probably won't round out the season. So the guys we're going to get the beneficiaries are going to be guys we already see already. Micic and Mann, Pokusevski, Grant Williams. The one to watch is maybe a Nick Smith or even an Amari Bailey if we do get Miller and Bridges shut down, because we will get those guys having to step into large roles. Like probably only for 3 or 4 games, but they're just names to watch. At the moment, we do run with Micic, run with the Man. Obviously, Big Dick Nick Richards, but the Man's been benefiting since November. Nothing has really changed there. The Brooklyn Nets, they're a tough one. They don't have their own draft pick. We know that, right? But they are also no chance of making the playoffs. Like, they're done. They're not officially eliminated, but they are, what are they, 5.5 games behind the Hawks for the 10th spot, the last play-in spot. They're not. Like, they're just not going to do that. But they don't have their pick, so they could be fighting to make sure the Rockets don't get a better one. They're currently 3 games up on the Raptors, who are not going to push to get ahead of them. So I think the Nets are sort of going to sit where they are. So I'm not sure that they're going to be super locked into playing big minutes to guys. Now, we know that they're going to make sure that Mikal Bridges plays 82 games. He'll probably play 20 minutes in 2 of them or something like that. We know they'll make sure he does that. But I'd be a little bit worried about Cam Johnson, who suffered his 30th injury yesterday with a toe injury. I wouldn't be shocked if he's done. Nick Claxton I'd worry about as well. He's had some back issues, knee issues, ankle injuries over the years. I wouldn't be shocked, especially as an unrestricted free agent, if he sits out a little bit of time here. Dennis Schroeder, is he part of their future? I'd highly doubt it. They don't really have other point guards on this team, but I wouldn't be shocked if he sits. And then Dorian Finney-Smith, an older player who, again, is not really a part of the future. And they've got some guys in that position, Jalen Wilson, Trendon Watford, who could step up. So the guys I'd be watching are Day'Ron Sharpe and Noah Clowney. If Sharpe ever gets to be the starter, we'd love that. Clowney's got an interesting fantasy game. It's not quite there, but it's interesting. Jalen Wilson would be useful enough. Trendon Watford's got a great fantasy game. So if they decide they're going to start Sharpe and Watford at some point, we jump on it. And then I don't know what they would do with Lonnie Walker. Like, I don't think Cam Thomas is going to sit down, but I imagine a backcourt of Cam Thomas and Lonnie Walker. Oh, my God. Wow. I lost my mind thinking about that. Lonnie could get extra playing time. Dennis Smith's currently hurt. Maybe if Schroeder sits down and Smith starts, we get some more Lonnie. He's a name to watch. He's a terrible fantasy player, but he is a name to watch who could just bludgeon us with volume. Now, I'm going to put the Celtics on the list of risky teams. Not because they're bad, but because they're just so far better than everyone else. They're 11 games ahead of the number 2 seeded Bucks. they can basically stop trying now. So, we've already seen Tatum get load managed. Brown get load managed. Horford been load managed for 3 years. Porzingis get load managed. Drew Holiday is dealing with an actual injury, but he's still going to get load managed. And Derek White will miss some time as well. Because they're so far up, there's zero reason to play these guys all of the time, going hard, because you don't want to lose someone to injury at this point of the year. You just don't. So there are huge risks with the value of these guys. They won't get shut down completely. That's not how it works. They don't say sit on ice for 2 weeks. They don't do that. But it'll be like, do they play 60% of the games, 70%? Will there be limited minutes in a lot of them? Probably yes. The big beneficiaries are going to be Peyton Pritchard, Slam and Sammy Hauser, Luke Cornett. Maybe you go into a Xavier Tillman there as well. I don't think you'll get someone like Springer or Luke or Walsh or Brissett, but maybe the last 2 games of the season, some of those guys can step up into those roles. And then lastly, it's the Atlanta Hawks, which is a team, honestly, that I don't really know how to judge this, because Jalen Johnson is out. I think he's out for the rest of this week. Maybe he can play on Saturday. You'd hope that he does, but I'm not sure. They're going to make the play, and they're in the 10th seed. So these guys, this is where the situation is. Like Trae Young, if they were in the 11th seed, Trae wouldn't come back. If they were the 11th seed, Jalen Johnson wouldn't come back. If they were the 11th seed, Okongwu probably wouldn't come back. But they are. They're in the 10th. Well, they're the 10th seed. So they're going to have to play playing games. I don't think Trae comes back until final week of the regular season. I think Okongwu might be done for this week as well. He came back from the toe injury and he's already missed 2 games. That's a terrible sign. I think he might be done for this week, honestly, Okongwu. Kobe Buffkin, I hope he's able to come back and take advantage of these playing time opportunities, but we're not really sure. And then it's a Jalen. I think we don't expect any Jalen, Trae, or Okongwu this week. Maybe next week. But they're a really tough one to figure out because there's just so many guys hurt. But they're staying in position because the teams below them are terrible. And that brings us to the end of week 22 injury report. And it's going to be annoying. It's going to be foolish. It's going to be frustrating all the way through here. So stay tuned here. We do the daily streaming shows to try and take advantage of things that happen on a single day basis to get some value in your fantasy league. Hit the thumbs up. Leave your comment down below on YouTube. Double bang it, of course, on the audio and the video version. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.